Hey guys, FRS guy here. Got a little bit of an issue with the car. Seems like the oxygen sensor is burning out. Yeah, seems like the oxygen sensor is going bad, so we have to replace that. Parts are on order. I think we're going to replace the mass airflow sensor too. About 60,000 miles on it. Yeah, so the hood's open. So unfortunately, this is not good news. The car is down for a couple days. We did get all our transmission parts, and we'll be doing a video on that. The transmission upgrade. That'll take a little bit of work, but we got all the parts out. The last parts we found, they're on order. But yeah, first we got to fix this. Hopefully it's acting up. When it's hot, I think it burned out, or maybe it's messing up. We'll see if it does it right now when it's a little bit cooler. And that's it. Let's get into it. Alright, let's fire this thing up and see what happens. Holding pretty steady right now. There we go. That's what it's doing. Right now it's still warming up, and then when it gets to full operating temperature, that gets worse and worse and worse. It's going from about 14 to 1 to about 15 to 1 fuel air ratio, and that's not good. So it was kind of doing this before, and I think it's been progressively getting slightly worse, and I just never really noticed it. And then it got really bad this weekend during our COVID-19 cruise. So yeah, I'm going to stop it from doing that. So yeah, we got to fix that. I'm pretty sure it's the oxygen sensor. Maybe I'm going to flash over to the data log and show you that. But yeah, it's messing up pretty bad. So we gotta replace that. What is that? 150 bucks, something like that. And then while we're doing that, we're gonna do the mass airflow sensor. So right here, it's too dark, can't see it. But yeah, there's the oxygen sensor right on top. Can't see it. But yeah, we gotta replace that guy. We'll probably just replace the mass airflow sensor too. I ordered one. I'm like, forget it. If I have to, in case I have to remap it, if I have to recalibrate, then might as well get, because when you're calibrating your mass airflow sensor, you're not just calibrating that, you're calibrating your oxygen sensor to your mass airflow sensor. Okay? You're calibrating both of those. So if one of them's off and you put a new one on, it could be the same, because it is a factory sensor. Might not have to change anything, but if I do have to adjust it, then I'm thinking I might as well change the other sensor too. They have 60,000 miles on it. It's boosted. Mass airflow sensors, I can't find any place where it really is giving me a bad reading. But now I know the oxygen sensor is weird. I'm going to look at some data logs on that, and that's probably what has been messed up for a while. And then the only thing left is my my map sensor. I could have got a bad one, but I'm going to double check the data log on that too. Because between that and the oxygen sensor, I think, is where I'm having some issues. And it could have been heat soak, but I should have enough fuel that even at low RPM, it should hold steady. It shouldn't fluctuate. So luckily it got home and didn't break. Guess I better get a fuel air ratio meter on it, just in case. But I mean, we were out, so we were kind of stuck anyways. It's either get it towed back or drive it back, so probably would have had to drive it back anyways. I did run my torque app, and the torque app was reading fine. It didn't show anything weird, but then when I got home and did an actual data log, it was all messed up. And of course, it was running worse once I got home and parked it and it heat soaked. It got even worse. So maybe it wasn't as bad while we were driving it, and once it sat and was heat soaked, I think that oxygen sensor got overheated and it was just done. They slowly wear out over time. Like the mass airflow sensor is usually gonna not, I don't think they wear out, but they could be just not as quick. And that's what happens with the oxygen sensor. It starts building more resistance. It starts to react slower and slower, and it's not giving the proper information in the computer, so you can't get a proper tune. Messes things up. It's been okay, but when you do all this stuff, it's expensive. I mean, a supercharger, you're talking a little over $4,000 plus you're talking $5,000-$6,000 if you do the work yourself. That's a lot of money. So I'm like, well, the sensor's working good now. We're gonna wait till summer to replace it. It's almost June, so I went out a little earlier. Hopefully, I was hoping I didn't have to mess with it. I could replace it when I want to, but either way, it was already planned to be changed out. So just gonna replace both of those, and I'm done. And this will be like a backup mass airflow sensor. The oxygen sensor is junk. I'll throw that out. In hindsight, I'm kind of wishing I would have replaced the NOx sensors under there. There's the 2 NOx sensors on the top of the engine. Maybe I do have my timing table pretty well set, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but it'd be nice to maybe have new ones in there. But I don't think they wear out as fast. Hey guys, here we go. Part 2. Changing out the oxygen sensor. Obviously, this is a pretty easy job. I think this car's probably a few minutes. Can we see this now? Yep. And you have the long tube header goes in right there, so basically it pops right out. The hardest part is there's not much room to work with the wrench. That's harder than trying to find the right angle with the wrench. It probably takes longer than getting it off. So obviously I popped that off. Here's the old one. Can't tell if I'm looking at these if they're good or bad, you know, but it is old. They do go bad. They do wear out. With the long tube header, it could be getting too much heat right there. We may have to move it down to the lower. I don't know if the cord reaches, or maybe there's that second plug down there. If anything, I can move it down to that plug, so it doesn't get as hot. We'll see how long this one lasts. But first, we're going to put it in and make sure that's the problem. I'm 90% sure that's what it is. Here's what I'm getting for my fuel-air ratio over time. And it's just crazy. It's just going all over the place, and it wasn't doing that before. This is something that just started, and this is when it was really hot. Once it cooled down, the next day it really wasn't that bad. But I wasn't going to drive with the supercharger. I'm not going to drive the car like that, so I had to let it sit till we got the parts. Those came in. Basically, there's one wrench, and just pop your connector on and off. That's about that easy. Not a whole lot to talk about. Alright, so let's get this back in there. I'm going to fire it up, let it warm up, and then I'll give you the results. Hey guys, just letting it warm up a little bit. She's super quiet, the supercharger. If I go right here, that's all the noise it makes. So there's a certain angles, and when the hood's closed, I can hear a little bit of that, like from the fender by the front tire. So it does make slightly, now that I've become accustomed to it, it does make that little bit of noise right there. That's it. I haven't heard anything. Of course, my exhaust is pretty loud, so I can't hear anything once we get going. But yeah, I'm letting it warm up. We're going to heat soak it a little bit, get it all warmed up, make sure it's working. It did seem to idle clearer already. It was like kind of idling rich. The thing is, all these electronics aren't instantaneous as people think. There's delays. So even though your oxygen sensor says that, or something says that you're at a certain thing, it could be still running richer, slightly rich or slightly lean. That's why you tune off the numbers and then do the final tune when it has to be off a feel. That's all you can really do, because it's an art, a little bit of an art. Some of the fastest cars, drag racing, they don't ever dyno them. Some cars have never been to the dyno, and they run right 4 second eighth mile. No prep, guys. You're running a 4 second eighth mile and you've never been to the dyno. Dyno helps to get your base, and then you got to do the final tuning. So we're letting that warm up. Here's the old one. Again, it takes just a couple minutes. That's what it was doing. Hopefully that's over. Here's the next project. You can see I have my valve body. Got my gasket, filter. There's 3 more little O-rings I'm waiting for. And I have to get some transmission grease. So I'm waiting for a couple things. Hopefully I have transmission grease at the parts store. If not, I'm going to have to order it, which takes about a week. And I'll be down for another week. But at least this is running again. Hopefully I've fixed it. I am going to replace my mass airflow sensor. That's still on the way. And because if there's some retuning to do, then I might as well just get done with. While this was messed up, I checked something on the tune that wasn't the tune. But we'll see if that is helping or hurting. I have to get my calibration for the heat. I think when I got my calibration up to 70 degrees, now I have to see how I want to tune it for once I get past like 80 and 90 degrees for the summer temperatures. I'm not sure how I want to tune it for that yet. So I got my 70 and below tuning, I think, done. Now I have to get my 80 and higher temperature tuning. And then once I have that set, then I can do my final horsepower tune. But I'm like probably 95% there. My flex fuel map, I don't know why. When I go over E45, it doesn't like it, even though it barely changes the numbers. So that's what I'm going to do today, is also validate my flex fuel map. If anything, I need to probably knock a little bit of timing out of it, and then we should be good. Hey guys, alright, and here's the final section. So oxygen sensor is in. It is running much better. I think it was a combination of things. But the oxygen sensor was definitely off. If you can see, the blue line is my target air-fuel ratio. The green line is where it's actually at. And you can see, let's do this. You can see, right? The only thing I did is change. This was already mapped. This was already done. This was already done. This is the difference between the old oxygen sensor and the new one. Now that I'm getting a more accurate, faster reading, you can see what the adjustments I had to make, like a couple adjustments there to get this back in line, like this, within a couple tenths, and tweak the top a little bit. Plus I blend the map a little bit, and car's running definitely much smoother and much stronger all the way through, because now I'm able to more accurately adjust my mass airflow sensor. So that's how far off, just changing sensors, same factory sensor, everything. Just the old one was old. It wasn't reading quite accurate, so it was running good, but it wasn't running as good as it should. Which I knew. I mean, it seemed to run pretty good, but there always seemed to be, like, it just didn't seem to have to be running quite right. So those old sensors can be off. And as you can see, I wasn't getting an accurate reading. So I wasn't getting enough fuel, so then I was down a little bit on power. So now that's evened out. You can tell us the power band is much smoother. It runs a lot better. So when you add power and when you add bigger injectors, when things are wrong, they're wrong times more. That's what I'm starting to find out. I thought with the supercharger, if things were off, you wouldn't notice it because you have more power. But actually, that more power and the bigger injectors actually multiply the problem. So when you have a little problem, it turns into a big problem when you have more horsepower, if that makes sense. All right. So that's it. I think we fixed it. That was one thing. I think I'm going to show you this other for right now. That was one problem. Going to this airflow compensation. I don't now know how I'm going to adjust for hot air. When it's real cold, I might have to do a tweak on that. But this map throws things off too, because when you pull the plot out, this was, what is that? This was horrible. It was I'm gonna have to double check that. Everything was all over the place. So the stuff wasn't even. It was again, when you have bigger injectors, I think would basically, if your injectors are 3 times larger, you're multiplying the fuel times 3 every time you make an adjustment. So if you lean it out, you're leaning it out 3 times more. If you're richening it up, you're richening it up 3 times more. So this map it doesn't adjust low enough to adjust for the bigger injectors. So it either runs rich, maybe it runs normal, and then it goes to way lean. So between this map being way off and that oxygen sensor being old, I hope that was 90% of the problem. It's cooled off. Again, that was when it got hotter out. So, but right now the car is running much better. You can see the difference it made. So now I have to wait for it to heat up, test it again. But I think we just picked up some more power. It definitely runs better, running smoother. When you make it smoother, it actually gets better traction, because these bumps and dips is what causes you to break traction. So when you even that out, it could spin, but it's more controllable if you do. So it's easier to get traction when the engine runs smoother, if that makes sense. Even though it makes more power, if your power band is smooth, it actually doesn't shock your drivetrain, and then you actually get better traction. So just still ironing it out. Subscribe, like, and share. Thanks. Bye.